to another episode of the Everybody Eat Show.
What's up, guys? What's up?
It's been a minute. So last few episodes we recorded, we were overseas. We were
international, right?
Yeah. So like now we're back. We're back home, getting some more episodes done. Right? It doesn't stop. The grind doesn't stop. So today we have a very special guest. We have Miss Sabine Franco joining us. So first, I'm gonna say thank you for joining us this evening, being on our episode.
Sure. Thank you. It's an honor. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So, first, let's housekeeping items, right? If you're new to our channel, make sure you're following us everywhere at Everybody Eats Show on Instagram, Facebook, EBE_show on Twitter, Everybody Eats Show on TikTok, Everybody Eats Show on YouTube, all that good stuff. Make sure that you're following us. That's where we have all our clips, episodes, snippets, content, all that good stuff.
We are on every other platform where you can listen to podcasts. Is that correct?
Every platform you can listen to podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you listen. Make sure you're tuning in, giving us a follow. New episodes coming out. And for our repeat listeners, thank you for joining us. All right, so that's that. I love to talk about how we met our guests, right? So
Okay.
This is very interesting because kind of like you said before, I've heard about you for like a few years now, because one of my mentors was actually one of your clients, right? And this is like way before we started the podcast. I was like back in high school. And then fast forward a few years in college, one of our friends in college, she brought you up because she worked for you for some time. Right. And then a few years later, I'm watching EYL, and then I was like, hey, like that looks really familiar. Like,
just can't get rid of this lady.
Yeah, I'm like, I've seen her before, I've heard of her before. And then like the Breakfast Club, like seems like DJ Envy and like him doing his real estate stuff, and I was like, you named his cat, but reappearing, right?
I gotta go. That's what we like.
Exactly, right. So eventually we got you on, so I'm very, very excited. Sure. But that just goes right. We always like to tell our guests, yo, you never know like how far an email or a DM can go to connect with somebody, right? Like you never know.
Yeah.
Again, this is just another example, social media.
Don't stop shooting,
right? Don't stop shooting. That is another example of social media, just like bringing people together. So let's do it. All right. On that note, if you could start introducing yourself, where are you from, and walk us through your journey.
Yeah, so I always start with like what I do, although that's not what I am, but but you know me from my role as an attorney, a speaker, motivator, educator, if you will. I'll just start with that. So I'm an attorney. I've been practicing for over 9 years, run a law firm called Franco Law Firm. We focus on asset protection, where we help create businesses, plan legacies, and protect properties. So the goal is really to help the community and the culture to keep more money in their pocket, right? And put the generational back into generational wealth. And so where I'm from, I hail from Queens. Queens, get the money. So that's where I grew up, and Queens, New York. And I've been, here basically all my life, and sort of just been, building my business, grinding, trying to make a name for myself. And that's how you guys found me.
So clearly it worked, right?
Yeah, you did a real good job.
Clearly it worked. So I'm interested, like, was lawyer always the goal growing up, right? Like, high school, right? Was it always like, I want to be a lawyer, and then like you just set it off, or was it you just kind of, I don't want to say stumbled upon it, because obviously it takes time, but like, was it something that like
your path kind of eventually like steered that way?
Like,
steered me there. Yeah. So it's almost like I did always have it in the back of my mind, because just like culturally growing up, that was like, the options for you, like become a doctor, lawyer, or, something like that. That's the only thing like we sort of knew. And so I wasn't forced to do it, but, in the back of my mind, that's something that I thought about. But I worked full time from the time that I finished high school. I worked full time, and I went to school full time. So by the time I finished college, I was like, yeah, law school, I don't know about that. So I was working in the mortgage industry. So I worked for mortgage banks, mortgage lenders. And then I got to a point where I was kind of bored in that field. I went to work for a venture finance firm for about a year. And finance sounds sexy now, but it wasn't sexy back then. And then so I just decided that I was gonna finally go to law school. So it's almost like it was out of somewhat boredom, somewhat, let's see if I could challenge myself in a new way to really do this thing that I'm not sure that I could achieve. And so I think ultimately I wanted to prove it to myself that I could do it.
Got it.
Yeah.
You did, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, I mean it's really cool to see. I mean, even though you got to, at least you bounced around, you knew yourself enough to figure out like, hey, I'm not gonna stress myself out. Imagine you did go to law school and you went, you didn't finish, and then you went through the other stuff and it didn't work out. So I mean, everything you call it boredom, but again, I think your path kind of just steered that way. So
it really did. It really did.
Got it. So now you're a lawyer. So there's a difference between being a lawyer and having your own practice, right? So like, how did you manage, and what was the journey between saying, all right, I'm gonna open my own practice, I'm gonna run this, that's different than working with somebody else, right? So that's a whole different step in itself.
It's an interesting one because for me, I had, I was actually telling somebody today that, when I really set my mind to do something, I really just have to convince myself, and then it's as good as done, right? So when I was working prior to law school, during that period between college and law school, I actually at the venture finance firm was making like almost 60,000. I was 24 years old. It was back in 2007. So that was nice. There wasn't so much of these, millionaire 20-year-olds go walking around. So it was a pretty good accomplishment for me. And but I just wasn't happy. Like it wasn't what I really wanted to do. And so when I finished law school, I was looking for a job. So this was after the, financial crisis or real estate crisis at that time. And I was looking for a job, and they wanted to pay me less than what I was actually making prior to law school. So for me, I was like, what? I'm a whole lawyer. I'm not about to be, which was not the right attitude looking back. But I worked for a firm for a short period of time, like a little less than a year. And then I decided, okay, I'm going to go out on my own. And what I started to do is I started to work for other attorneys who needed appearances or who needed help in their practice. And that's how I sort of started to learn the ropes, started to learn the industry, and to get a feel for what is it exactly that I could do? Like, what do I know enough to do? And what can I teach myself and learn through continuing education, through mentorship and things like that. And so that's kind of how I started. And initially it just felt like I'm just kind of doing this, we'll see how it goes or where it goes. And then probably like a year and a half in, I was like, all right, maybe I should just like at least form my business. Maybe I should just, pick an actual practice area, and things like that. So I started to get serious about it along the way, but that's how I found myself in private practice. Working for myself. Mm-hmm.
Got it. So it was like gradual thing, it was like
gradually.
Got it. Okay. So got your own practice, like now you're on social media, you got the content, you're going to the conferences. So like I'm interested, like what's the either the plan, what's the trajectory,
end game, or
like did you I probably know the answer to this, right? Did you plan out all this, or was it like as the opportunity just came?
Or I guess another way to word it is when did the I like your, I don't know if it's your slogan or business model, but put generational back into intergenerational wealth. So when did that kind of spark and born? I don't know if that's what you were going for.
But I think this happened when, okay, so a part of my practice, you guys know that I was on the tour with DJ Envy and Caesar. And so I sort of, in that process became somewhat of a thought leader or someone who's like knowledgeable on that area of real estate law. And so a lot of people will come to me with issues like, I, was supposed to get this inheritance, but the property is actually in my relative's name and now they don't want to transfer it to me. Or I was manipulated out of signing over my property because I was young, I didn't know what I owned, or, a family member manipulated an elderly, whatever it is. So a bunch of those scenarios kept happening. And I'm like, like people came here, they, grinded, they did start to build wealth, right? Or they did, did something to sort of set up their next generation. And then it got lost somehow. because of misinformation, because of, just not having the right tools or not having the funds or what have you. And so because of that, what they started ended right there. And I didn't want that to continue to be the narrative. So I said, okay, this is something that I could speak about, that I could, educate people about. So I want to sort of see how what I do and what I know can sort of help enlighten people in this area, so that it's not just about the wealth part, because I think we have so much resources out there to know that we can build wealth, and this is different ways that we can build wealth. But what about the generational part? Like, how is it passing on?
Yeah.
And so 36% of businesses make it to the second generation, only 36%. Then you have 17% making it to the third generation. And then even less, 7% making it to the fourth generation. But even at the highest level, 36%, like what's happening to 70% of the businesses?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what's that? Like, what are we out here doing? So it's just not good enough. And so I think that, it became a passion of mine to sort of help people and make sure that this is not something that every single family, especially of color, is experiencing.
Got it. Something that kind of just like jogs my memory. I saw something on Instagram the other day, pretty much that like, United States runs on documentation, right? So like, especially like United States and business runs on documentation. So when you're saying that generational thing, like I can see how easy it is for one generation, easy, right? We could be making money, we could be doing everything on the podcast,
right?
But if we don't have literally the proper paperwork in place for our kids or the next people to take over the business, it's
not gonna work.
Right?
Not at all.
And like, how many times I'm sure it happens to a bunch of families, but how many times have you seen like kind of literally the situation where you said where parents pass and they have a house or something like that, and what happens to the kids start fighting for the money,
for the house, fighting for everything.
Right? Proper paperwork isn't in place. They like families get torn apart, like and that's how the generational wealth doesn't get passed down.
Exactly.
So, like, they spend the money suing each other and fighting and doing all of this on the third.
And you're right. So that is also one of the major things, is that people think that, oh, they get along now, they're gonna be all right, they're gonna figure it out, or this older one, I'm gonna leave it to the eldest and they're gonna take care of the other ones. Like, they don't have to do that. Once you leave it to them, it's theirs. And if you don't put a plan in place, then your family, and they're gonna fight over things. People switch up real quick when somebody passes away and you're not around to sort of keep the peace, or especially if you're like the matriarch, or the same for the male version, they're gonna go at it with each other. And so a lot of times it's lost because people just can't get on the same page and nothing happens. Like, I've seen that happen. And so it's sad, for that to be the case.
Frustrating. Yeah,
for sure. No, it's not. Nobody wins when the family feuds, right?
Yeah.
So, that's good. That's amazing that you're having that. That's a goal. That's a model. That's like a mission statement. Because like you said, it's easy. Like when everyone's getting along and like money's to be made, it's easy to think that it's always gonna be sweet like that forever, right? But you really have to have that, have that in place.
You get your peas and respect, bro.
You need to have that in place. Before we get into the technical parts of trademarking, is anything else you want to cover in this segment?
Oh, no, I'm good.
Oh, good. All right. Okay. Oh, actually, one last question I want to cover it now. Being a Black woman in this field, right? I'm curious, how has that been? Because I'm sure, like, I don't know too much about the industry, but I'm assuming it's predominantly white old men, right? I'm assuming just like most other industries, right? So I'm curious, how has that journey been for you, like in terms of like mentors, looking up to people and like mentoring people at the same time, or whether it be like the Black males, Black women in that industry?
Yeah, so I mean, especially early on, I dealt with that sort of stigma. Like, I felt very out of place, and I felt like, how do I actually like be an attorney and still be myself, right? I felt like I had to fit a mold and try to be, something else. And it took me a long time to realize, like, you can't. It wasn't created for you. Like, this mold was not created for you, so you're never gonna fit it the way that it's designed. But you can make your own way. And that's what I really started to do. But yeah, it's absolutely white male dominated predominantly. Then you have your white women, and then I've had several situations in my career where I've gone into courtrooms and the judge thought I was a defendant. I've had other attorneys think I was a defendant. Court officers are just like, you're an attorney, like, oh, you can't come in. And I'm like, I'm an attorney. So I'm young, I'm African-American, I'm a woman. Yeah. So definitely I dealt with that. And it did play on my confidence, and my authority and owning the role and the person, who I am. But I got a whole lawyer. I mean, I'm a whole lawyer, and I took 2 bar exams the same way that, everybody else did, and passed on the first try. So I've earned it. I'm worthy. I'm worth it, and I am who I am. And so it definitely is something that I had to work through. It doesn't bother me anymore, but it did for a while. Mm-hmm.
Got it. I love that. That's real. That's the real.
That's the real of it. Yeah.
On that note, let's go to the quote of the day. All right. So Edom, he'll pull that up for us, and we'll try and guess who said it. And then we'll just talk about our interpretation.
We'll just try to find give y'all a hint that won't give it away.
Reset the thing up. You said you took 2 bar exams. Is that like both for New York or like for two?
I took New York and New Jersey.
New York and New Jersey. Okay.
Yeah. That's why I said that, because I was like, they're probably like, oh, she took the bar twice. Which is nothing wrong with that. It's just,
It's not me.
It just wasn't my story.
And where'd you do law school? And like
Hofstra on Long Island.
Yeah.
And undergrad, I went to SUNY Farmingdale State University.
Okay. All right. So long. Yeah. Okay. So I know Hofstra, man. People go to Hofstra law.
Yeah. Are you guys in New York or from New York?
We're from New York, but right now we're located in Norfolk, Virginia.
Oh.
Yeah. So,
all right.
Right. All right, let's do it. Yeah. Quote of the day.
So the quote is, "We have 2 lives. The second one begins when you realize you only have one."
Ooh.
I feel like I literally just saw that quote.
I feel like I reheard that recently too.
I was watching something like that. I forgot where I pulled it from, but I wrote down who said it. So we have 2 lives.
Sheesh.
The second one begins only when you realize you have one.
I think I saw that on my Instagram.
Yeah, I don't know. I literally just saw that on Instagram. I don't know who the original person is though.
Is it from the show?
No. So it was said by a famous philosopher. It's also a politician. He created his own teaching. I think he coined the phrase filial piety.
Not Socrates?
No.
Oh.
If I say where he's from, it's gonna give it away. So
philosopher.
Can't. It's like it formed into its own type of like way of thought, and no, like social ruling standard as well.
You got me, bro.
All right, so he's from China.
Buddha?
No. Oh. From China. Philosopher, politician. Really?
That just goes to show you guys how much I know about this stuff.
All right, I feel like if I said China, I would have guessed, but it's Confucius.
Okay.
Confucius. Gotcha. So we have 2 lives. The second one only begins when we realize we only have one.
Yeah, that's deep, and I get it. I think it's about waking up. So like recently I read a book called what is the name of the book? It's probably here somewhere. Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. And it talks about how we go through life sort of like drifting, like we don't really have direction, we don't know where we're going, and we're just kind of rolling, we're just like kind of going with whatever comes at us. And so when you actually like dramatic and traumatic things that happen in your life, sort of is there to like wake you up, right? To like make you change your path of thinking or just like see what's going on around you. And so when you wake up, you see things, everything is seen differently, and you realize how precious things are if you're lucky, right?
Yeah.
And then that's your second life, and you live a whole different way.
Definitely. I
Makes
listened to Secret to Success podcast with Eric Thomas today.
Yeah.
And he was somewhat like in a similar route. He was just talking about his relationship with his wife, his relationship with his coworkers, right? And the people he works with, just saying like pretty much he was like, yo, like we take everything, a lot of times we take tomorrow for granted, right? Like, but we never know. Like he says in the example you're saying, he flies a lot with his wife, right? And he was like, yo, like him and his wife fly a lot, but they make sure that they pray every time they get on the plane, because they never know, like God forbid this could be the last time, you know what I'm saying,
right,
off type joint. But he was saying you got to be grateful, but like for him, he was pretty much using that like, because we don't have tomorrow promised, like you have to make sure you're doing what you got to do today, you know what I'm saying? And it's like taking care of what you can today, because you know, once you realize that like, yo, like we're only here once, like, you know, we can't take it all with us, you know, all that stuff, you move differently, you know, and like you really start to appreciate like, you know, I saw a different video today. It was like talking about risk. It was like, oh, life, you think investing is risky? Not investing is more risky. You think, you know, like doing this is risky? No, not living your dreams is even more risky. He was like, you think like life is risky? Like we're not gonna make it out alive at the end of this, you know? So what are you gonna do with yourself and do with your time while you're here now? All right, so that kind of made me think about that, you know what I'm saying? So that's what got me thinking like, oh, you know, you realize once you realize you only got one, like you start to move a little bit differently, and you really apply that stuff, because it's like, you know, yesterday is gone, you know, you're never getting that back, you know? Like that was the last time you did whatever you did yesterday, was the last time you ever did yesterday, you know, like that was the last time.
Oh yeah.
So something like that. So that's what I got out of it.
Yeah, you hit a lot of stuff. But for me, I relate it more to I guess situations where it's I wouldn't say it's near death, but that mental experience you get when you're like when you're in a near death situation. I guess it's the realization of your mortality,
right?
You know how fragile or how small you are at the end of it. So that mental feeling or that change in mindset that you get when you're really close to death or just something really like beyond your control, you know? So you oftentimes you hear people, you have, you know, you have the rare cases where, you know, people pass and, you know, come back like after like a few minutes, they come back a whole different person. You have we were talking about it offline, but I was watching a video, Joe Rogan talking about ego death, and I did, you know, I kind of fell into a rabbit hole about that. But yeah, people, you know, I'm sure it's caused by many other things, but in this example, is, you know, drugs and they go, you know, they trip and they have what it's called ego death. So you reimagine everything, like you view your world differently. So it's like it's like some people come out of it a completely different person. So that's how I view it, you know? So whenever you find yourself in a situation like that, or
maybe very traumatic experience.
Traumatic or something really like, I guess the word is profound, you know, something bigger than you. The feeling that comes with that's how I view it.
Yeah, it wakes you up. Word. That was deep. Could you repeat that? Repeat that part one last time.
All right. So let me make sure I got it right. We have two lives. The second begins when you realize you only have one.
By Confucius.
By Confucius.
All right. So we'll hop into this third segment. Let's get talking about trademarking. All right. So this is something I've heard about it, right? Trademarking, patenting, but like I feel like that's some stuff that we kind of like stuff like, it's like the fine print stuff that people kind of overlook, right? That's why I feel like it is sometimes. So for those who don't know what is trademarking, like why is it important, you know, like what's the difference between trademark and patenting, right? So if we could just give like a basic basic definition of like what it is and why it's important.
So a trademark is really the act of protecting, at least trademark registration is the act of protecting something that you've created that is something that is consumer facing or public facing that you want the public to know and understand that they are seeing or interfacing with your brand, right? So it could be a name, it could be a logo, a design, whatever it is, it's the thing that's on all of your products or that's signifying on your products. Who owns this? Who made this? Where did this come from? That's your trademark. And so we also know it as your brand, right? It's the brand, it's the McDonald's Golden Arches, it's the Nike swoosh, it's, the thing that, okay, I know what this brand is, and that one thing speaks to the entire essence of the company, right? You see the Golden Arch, you know exactly what you're getting. You could be in China, you know what it is, right? Anywhere you are. So it speaks to the essence of the brand, and you want to communicate everything that you are and that one thing to the public and for them to know and understand who you are.
Got it. So this goes to that also kind of ties into the reason why Nike has the swoosh. But if I start a brand, right? Like, why can't I just use the swoosh that Nike has? Like, it looks cool. Like, why can't I just all of a sudden start doing everybody eats and just putting a little
yeah. So thank you. That's a good clarifying question. So so when you register your trademark, you are protecting the exclusive use to use that mark, that symbol. And you are also putting people on notice that they're not allowed to use it because it's your right that you've claimed. And when it's your right that you claim, you can, stop others from using it. Because what happens is when you register a trademark, you are building equity in that brand, right? We know that these brands are valuable. We see them, and you never know when you create something like how big it's going to get. You may think you're just starting, you're just doing books in your garage, and next thing you know, you're Amazon, right? You don't know. That's how it starts. So you want to basically protect whatever it is that you're building. And when you do that, you want to stop others from doing it because you don't want them to reap the benefits of what you have created. And so what Nike can do, if you go ahead and put that on your sweatshirt, is first tell you to stop. Second, if you don't, they can sue you and also take all of the proceeds that you made off of their brand, right? And so that's why when somebody registers their trademark, you can't go ahead and use it.
So what about in the cases of, I'm sure the answer lies in the question, but let's say you make a design. So I make a design with Nike swoosh and I do sell it. I know there's some, you might see maybe those streetwear owners or brands where they kind of take a brand's logo or something and they remake it into their own thing, but you can still evidently, you can still tell what the original brand is, and you can, you can tell what they did and what the brand is originally. So how do you
it sort of depends how they're doing it. So if they are just mocking the style, like if they're doing, say it's Gucci and they're doing double C's, or they make the C's sort of look like it, essentially they're not really violating their rights. Now it depends on what it is that they are sort of trying to, it's not even really what they're
trying to do with it.
Yeah, so it's two different things, because one would be a copyright. So copyright is a protection of your, really a design. Other things fall into copyright as well, but as pertaining to your example, it's the protection of the design. So if we're talking about the Gucci print, they could probably sue them for a violation of that. And that's why you see these people on the corners doing stuff like that. Yeah. They're there and they're looking out to see, because they're violating other people's rights.
We just saw, so many, like, again, we were just traveling. So we just saw so many of those, people, they got the purses on the sheets on the street, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So there's a level of protection that they can have. Like with clothing, it's very very specific, right? Because a lot of clothing you cannot defend against, like the styles, right? But if it's like the G's, then it's definitely like trademark infringement. And like I said,
Yeah.
they're doing it illegally, right? And so you wouldn't see it in a Macy's, right? You wouldn't see it in a big department store or, a Neiman Marcus or what have you. You wouldn't see that because yes, they're illegally infringing on these people's rights.
Okay.
Got you. So before we were talking about documentation, right? So like what is the actual, so like, right, we got Everybody Eats, we got a nice logo, it's gonna have me and Eden's face on it, right? So now that we have it, like maybe we have like, this is like real practical for like a small business owner, right? We just had a graphic design artist like create a logo for us. Boom, now it's ours, right? We paid the graphic design artist. Now we want to blow it up and we want to put this design everywhere on Instagram, on shirts, on like QR codes, on like business cards, whatever. So like what is the actual process now for us to be like, okay, now we have this copyrighted or trademarked?
Okay, so with both copyrights and trademarks, your rights are actually created when the thing is created. So with copyright, you do the drawing or what have you, you have a copyright in that thing. The reason why you register it is because you want to be able to police against it, and you also want to get more damages if your brand is actually harmed, right? If you need to go ahead and sue them. Now, to do that registration, what you're first going to want to do is if you hire a lawyer, if you wanted to do it on your own, you're going to do a search to see if there's any other marks out there that is conflicting with yours. Meaning, does somebody else already register this or something that is similar to it? What you need to know with trademarks is not only that you cannot protect the same exact thing, you also cannot protect something that is similar. So the trademark office, if you're doing something that's similar to someone who's already registered and you want to try to protect a mark that also looks similar to what they're doing, you're likely not going to be successful with that. So you need to do a search on uspto.gov. Their search engine is not super, it's not super user friendly in the sense that it may not catch everything. So you have to be, very creative in how you're searching. And so when you do that, if you don't find that there's anything conflicting, then you're going to put in an application, and the application is what is really going to go to them. It's going to take some time. It's like an 8 to 18 month process, and the application will go, and then someone will let you know, if they think that it's good, or if they think it's not going to happen, or if they think you need to write a legal argument to explain why they should allow you to register this, things like that.
Got it. Sorry, could you repeat the website one more time?
uspto.gov.
USPTO.
USPaytimeoff.gov.
And then you said 8 to 18 months. Is there a cost to register or to apply?
Yeah, it's there is a cost. It depends though what you're registering, the different classes and categories that your brand is falling into, and whether or not you're going to use an attorney for it.
Got it.
So,
Got it. Okay. So I guess help me understand, right? So trademark, do you trademark a name or do you trademark a logo, or can it be both? Like, does Nike trademark NIKE, or do they trademark the check, like the swoosh?
They trademark it all. They trademark the swoosh, they trademark NIKE, and they trademark Just Do It. So the swoosh is the logo. The NIKE is the name, the word mark. And the slogan is the Just Do It. So those are 3 different trademarks. And then they also trademark it together because sometimes they use it together.
Got it. Okay, that's smart. So what happens if Nike, in this case, wants to switch up their logo, right? They rebrand, right? Facebook said that they're going to change their name recently, right? Like they just came out saying that they're going to get a new name. So,
which is insane.
I'm really interested in what it's going to be, right? So in that case, they're gonna have to come up with a new name, new logo, new design, and all that new stuff is gonna have to be trademarked as well.
That's right. Okay. And
so do they let go of all the old stuff, or is that can they still easily go right back to it?
No, they're not gonna let go of the Facebook. The only thing they have to do with that is to make sure that they're still using it. So they're gonna have to use it in some capacity. Could be in marketing or, just keep it alive, because if they're not using it, they can't continue to own it. It will, essentially die if they have no proof that it's being used. But because of the equity in it, I don't believe they're just going to like never use it ever again.
Is there a time period like I guess for how long you can remain inactive before you lose it, that logo? Or
Yeah. So when you first get your trademark registration after the first 5 years, there's something that needs to be filed in order for you to extend. And you also have to show proof that you've been using it in the way that you said you were going to be using it. So when you do that, then you're able to extend that trademark, and you're able to go to continue to use it. And then after 10 years, same thing. And then every 10 years after that, you have to continue to do the same thing. So if you don't have proof that you've been using it, then you're not going to get that extension or that continued, your rights won't be continued.
Got it. I'm curious, right? So in the music industry, when it comes to like, I feel like it's somewhat similar when it comes to like sampling, right? Sampling music, create a song. If you want to use, Michael Jackson song, you gotta get it cleared. Is it I guess like the music isn't necessarily trademark, but I'm assuming it's kind of like a similar structure in the terms of like, you can't just, use somebody else's, song. If you want to make it in your own, you're gonna have to get like that approved. So I'm wondering, is it similar process, if you know how that works?
It's a different process, but it's a similar protection, right? It's you're filing with the government to basically protect those copyrights that you've created for the music that you've created.
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. Do you have any like common I guess like do's or don'ts that maybe small businesses or people kind of like run into when it comes to maybe like trademarking process or registration?
Yeah, I mean, definitely you want to get clear on your brand first before you trademark. But the minute that you know that you're sure and you're married to this brand, then you want to go ahead and file that trademark or work with an attorney to file. You work with us to file that trademark. Because the worst thing you want to do is build a brand where someone else comes in and sort of takes it or uses it and protects it before you. And it's hard for you to go ahead and overcome that, right? So you definitely want to protect your brand as early as you are sure that this is the brand. I would say also protect it for all the classes that you're actually using it, because it's different, right? So the trademark office looks at it like, if you want to do sweatshirts, that's apparel. If you want to do a podcast, that's a different class. And so in each way that you're protecting it, then you want to do that. And don't be ignorant to the fact that you guys are creating every day, and other people see the value in what you're creating. And if you don't see the value in it, then you're definitely not going to be the one reaping the benefits from it, right? And we have to know that we have to invest in our businesses. You can't want to be a multimillionaire and you're concerned about protecting, you're not concerned about protecting your rights, or you're not willing to invest what it takes to basically get your business affairs in order. So that's what it boils down to.
For sure. That was a lot of gems right there. Do you have any other questions?
I was writing out a lot of information she was giving out, but
so I'm curious, along your journey, right? Becoming a lawyer, got your own brand, creating.
I do have, sorry. She answered everything so beautifully with trademarking, patenting. I just wanted to know, just in case anyone out here is listening, might be in or wants to be a lawyer and may find themselves in that same situation. How did you shrug off? Because I know after a while, you mentioned having I forgot the name you used for it, but people kind of looking at you weird, thinking you were the defendant and certain stuff like that. How did you shrug that off? How did you, every day shake it off, just in case any, for anybody listening?
I mean, it took a while for me to do that. I mean, it was more so doing the inner work of me growing the confidence in myself. But a lot of times I think we think that everything is external, and that, we're gonna find what we need externally, where we really have to do the inner work and work within, because I didn't change what's going on outside. All I did was change what was going on in here. And so because I was able to do that through reading and applying information that I was learning, doing affirmations, doing yoga, doing meditations, all of those type of things helped me to grow the confidence in myself. And when I did that, now I don't have to care, where people want to put me.
That kind of ties into the question I was going to ask. I was just going to be like, what would you say is like one of your biggest takeaways or lessons, from your career, whether it's like, personal or, a business lesson, financial lesson. But yeah, one of the biggest takeaways.
Yeah, one of the biggest takeaways for me is that, there's really no limit to what you can actually do if you just believe in yourself, right? So the only limitation that I have had in my career is my lack of belief that I was able to achieve, any particular thing. And so the minute that I decide that I'm going to believe in myself for a particular thing, it happens. Yeah. Like it literally happens. So that is my biggest takeaway. Like never doubt myself when it's something that I want, because I can have it as long as I first believe it.
Got it. Do you happen to have any, and I'll put you on the spot, do you have any like examples or like stories you could think of?
So I mean, well, one big thing is the public speaking, right? Yeah. So I'm sorry, hold on one second, I got background. Sorry, life of a mom. Yeah, so public speaking was a huge fear for me. Like I remember the first time in law school when I had to public speak, I kind of like froze, couldn't really get it out, And so like as an attorney, when I first started my practice for like the first 4 years, I barely went to anything, like any networking event. I didn't really put myself out there at all. I just kind of let whatever come to me. And so I woke up one day and was just like, yo, are you going to do this or not? You know what I mean? And I decided, yeah, I'm going to do it. And so when I did, one day was scrolling and I just had this urge to like reach out to DJ Envy because I had gone to one of his seminars. And I was like, I'm just going to reach out and see if this is now don't go reaching out and don't tell him I sent you, because this was just my story. I don't know why it didn't work for me. But it did. So it did. And, long story short, it ended up working out for me. But then I was like, sis, you about to go speak in front of all these people? Like, it's not something you do. You can do like that. And so I kind of just, stepped out there and I had to like really just believe in myself. Now it took me a lot of growth because we were doing it for months and months. And it took me a lot of growth throughout the process to sort of, like I said, build myself up with those different tools. I did coaching, life coaching. I did, like I said, meditation, reading books and things like that to work on myself and deal with my insecurities. Like, why are you insecure about speaking? Like, why do you feel like you're not worthy? Why do you feel like you're not enough? And so dealing with those questions, the answers to those questions, that's how I got free from it. And the biggest part is that I kept doing it. I kept doing it and I still haven't stopped doing it, even though I'm not on that platform, but I'm still speaking, And so I think that's one of the biggest things, is that the thing that you're most afraid of, you have to like stare it in the face and tackle it. And most times it's not gonna fly.
I like that.
Yeah.
For sure. Man, that covers everything from my end. On my questions. I don't know, before we get into the song, if you got any last ones.
No, I mean, again, goes to show don't be afraid to shoot. And I mean, you kind of put yourself in a situation where you were forced to level up, and
I was in a big way.
And no choice, right?
You had no choice.
You had no choice to level up.
Yeah. Sometimes it's interesting because I used to find myself in those situations where I'm like, I know I'm maybe scared or apprehensive, or I'm not really 100% confident I can do something. But sometimes you just kind of just step off over the ledge, the imaginary ledge, and not as bad as you think it is, and you force yourself to fly or fall, so
exactly. One of my good friends, she was scared of heights, and during the pandemic she went skydiving, And so she's like, nothing now. There's no
Nothing-
fear anymore.
Yeah,
Because it's like, what
exactly.
else could you
Worse.
do but, jump out of a friggin' plane?
I feel like I'd pass out like in the midair, throw up on myself. I don't know.
Right. Right. That's how you gotta do. You gotta just, face it.
Yeah,
For real.
for sure, for sure. That's it for me.
Yeah, no, that's definitely it. So do you have a song you'd like to add to our wonderful playlist?
Yeah. So this kind of ties into, not being or being a Black woman in an industry that wasn't created for you, right? So the song that I love that really got me through like law school and stuff like that is So Ambitious by Jay-Z and Pharrell. I don't know if you guys know that song. I'm sending you in the crate.
Like though.
That's off the
we know Forever Young off that album.
Yeah. Go back and listen to that song. Go back and listen to that song, and you guys will see. He talks about, he says, the motivation for me is them telling me what I could not be.
Okay, we gotta sing it too. Public speaker, the lawyer.
Okay.
Got you. Love it. Okay, we add that to the playlist.
Yeah.
Yo, that kind of concludes today's episode. Thank you very much for joining us today. Yo, that was the first lawyer we had on the podcast.
Oh, really?
So,
nice.
Yeah,
I was the first lawyer on EYL too, so you never know
what
things happening for you guys.
Another one on the belt. Yes.
But not, yo, first lawyer we had, so that was really dope. Really enjoyed the conversation. Yo, for any future lawyers out there, yo, I hope you're really listening to advice, because I remember my brother, he wanted to be, at some point he grew up, he wanted to be a lawyer. I wanted to be a lawyer at one point.
Okay.
I saw there was a lot of reading, so I was like, not really. But I know a lot of people who going that route and things like that. So I'm not like, it was encouraging to me. That's not even my industry, so I know it's going to be encouraging to people out there. So that's just a thank you. Thank you very much for sharing your experiences, sharing your story and your knowledge. Before we conclude, make sure that you're following us on all platforms. Make sure you're leaving a like, a review, comment, all that stuff on Apple Podcasts.
Subscribe.
Help us get ranked, reviewed, and all that good stuff. So drop a review. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Don't be selfish with all this good information. You know what I'm saying?
Share it.
Don't be selfish. Everybody eats. Yo, that's
it. I'll just tell people where they could find me if they want to reach out. So on social media, I'm Sabine the Purpose Lawyer, and also on YouTube, Sabine the Purpose Lawyer. So I do have a podcast as well called Sabine's Common Sense. So if they want to tap in there, and my firm website is franco-lawfirm.com.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Apologies, but yeah, we got all that. We gotta make sure that people can find it. That's why they're here for it. That's it for me.
You said, sorry, one more time. Franco-law firm.
Yeah, so the hyphen like a dash, lawfirm.com.
There we go. Boom.
Straight out of Queens.
Straight out of Queens.
We love it. Yo, thank you guys for listening to today's episode. Again, thank you, Sabine, for coming on today's episode and teaching and telling us.
You're welcome.
Yo, we'll see you guys next week.